This has been, I suppose, a bit of a learning exercise for all of us. The last question from Falls Ireland about that technical advisory process, that's something that resonated with us when we were looking at the presentation, because we are very conscious of the onerous process that has to be gone through, and how can we help people? What's the best way to deal with that? We could see that a nomination, a state authority can only make one nomination per annum. Given the number of sites we have, we're not going to be rushing in next year nominating all the sites. So this is going to be a long process. I sensed from just listening, I went into a couple of groups in the afternoon sessions, a little bit of confusion, a bit of suspicion. What's this all about? How come we're all called here today? How come we weren't consulted? It's difficulty with consultations. Where do you start? And the idea is that this is a new start. It's not the beginning, because we have 3 World Heritage Sites on the island. We have a tentative list. But we also have a situation where 3 years ago we started off with our tentative list. We came in maybe as the state authority saying, isn't this wonderful? Now here we're offering you this chance, and why aren't you grabbing it? And we ran into the buffers. And we ran into the buffers in Clonmacnoise. So I think that caused us to stop and think and to say, well, if we are serious about this, well, how do we go about it? Is there a different way? And that thinking also completely resonates with the thinking we saw today, but how it is to be a bottom-up approach. The difficulty about bottom-up approaches is, who does it? Who does the work? Who takes charge? It was much easier in the old days. Bruna Bonia, yeah, that meets the criteria. Let's draw up a zone and a buffer zone, and let's make the nomination, and there it is. If you're looking at a bottom-up approach, trying to draw up consensus, that's a long, hard slog. But we're not in a rush. That's not to say we don't lack ambition, but we aren't in a rush. So the whole idea of bringing you together today, the local authorities, representatives from local communities, was to try and answer some of the questions maybe you hadn't even asked. What's it all about? How difficult is the process? What's the process locally? What's the process when the application form gets sent off? And we saw that from Dre and Grellen, the first 2 speakers this morning, that they are very complex and complicated processes, so not something to be entered into lightly. The issue of resources to support it, that's a challenge for us. It's a big challenge for yourselves, challenge for local authorities. But if there is an interest, if there are 1 or 2 sites that look like they might be runners that have local buy-in, let's tackle it then. Let's try and cross that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, that idea of the technical advisory group at the beginning might help. Just to say that the Minister himself is very, very committed to this, because when he came into office 2.5 years ago, and this was one of the items on the agenda, and he was saying what's happening here, and we explained the process we've gone through, the tentative list, the resistance maybe to nomination. He has kept on us not to give up in the process. So he was very anxious to try and kickstart it again. And again, that's very much behind the seminar today. When people reflect, I think the great thing about today was the openness about the issues, the openness about the challenges, the openness about the additional obligations or the burdens, particularly as it relates to the planning system. So rather than hide from that, let's be open and transparent about it. But then don't place too much of an emphasis on that. Again, as we heard from Loretta and other speakers, all these sites are protected under the National Monuments Acts, under the as protected structures, in county development plans. as special areas of conservation or special protection areas. All those designations themselves, another reason for suspicion. Here we go, another designation. But nonetheless, a lot of these areas already have some degree of, or a significant degree of protection. And the question is, well, what are the additional elements that this will bring? We're not going from a Wild West scenario to frozen landscapes, because landscapes always change, and UNESCO heritage sites should be living communities as well. And we've cities that are UNESCO heritage sites. These are living, commercial, operating, working places. And it's the balance. And we're not going from the Wild West, no control, to a complete freeze, but we are going from probably significant control to even more significant control. And we saw also for yourselves to know, well, can we give that up in favour of the benefits that can accrue if we use our site wisely? And you saw the enthusiastic messages that Claire Tuffy was giving us from Brún and Bona, and how the community has grasped that and has brought the World Heritage Site to its heart. And yet, we also know that there are issues there with planning. People don't like some of the restrictions. Some people say that they're not getting the benefit of the site that they should. But nonetheless, it is clear that there are benefits. So there are the things we have to weigh up in our minds. In terms of the structure going forward, again, maybe people felt we were springing upon them the appointment of groups and chairpersons, but we're not forcing anything. But we didn't want to bring everybody here together today, sit down, have a good chat, and then walk away and nothing happens. We want to make sure that there is follow-up. If the follow-up is only to have more considered discussion in your own local areas, armed with the knowledge that we have today, with the information that we have today, and I think that will all be on the website. And I think we need to follow up, as Brian said, because I think the issues raised and the presentations raised require ourselves to reflect as how we support this process, because we'll support the process, as will ICOMOS, and I think the Heritage Council may also have a role there as well. So think of this as a beginning. It's not in any way an attempt to coerce any community down a road they don't want to go, but it is very much opening a door to communities to say, if you want to grasp this opportunity, we'll try and help. And we have such a fantastic heritage. You look at the pictures at the back, our monastic sites, stone forts, so on. From our point of view in the department and the ministers, it's a chance we'd love to grasp. So listen, thank you very much for your attendance today, and safe home. Good night.